What's going on, everybody? My name is LuckyBunz. In today's video, we're going to be going through all of the events for the month of December in Pokémon GO. We have a lot to get through in this one, so let's go ahead and jump straight into it. So let's first start off with the new season bonuses, which are going to be available from December 3rd up until March 4th. Not exactly the end or the start of the month here, but those are going to be the time frames. Now, in terms of the season bonuses that we're going to have for these next 3 months, we're going to have 2 free raid passes every single day. These are going to be the orange passes, so that means they're going to be use it or lose it passes. If you don't actually use them, then you're going to lose them for that day. Now, you can actually hold one in your inventory if you want to carry it over to the next day, but you can hold on to more than one of these. Now, on top of that, we're also going to get extra Stardust from Rocket Battles, and we're going to get extra Stardust from opening gifts. Now, it wasn't actually specified how much extra Stardust we're going to be getting from these activities, but if I had to take a guess, it's probably going to be double, in which case you're going to get 1,000 Stardust from the Grunts, and you're going to get 2,000 Stardust from the Leaders. From opening gifts, maybe it's going to be like 100 to 200 extra Stardust per gift. That would be a good estimate, but we'll have to wait and see when the season actually starts. Alright, next up, let's go over the Shadow Legendary Pokemon that's going to be available from Giovanni, which is still going to be Shadow Heatran. So if you guys still haven't used your Super Rocket Radar and you're considering using it, Shadow Heatran is pretty good as like a Fire-type attacker for the Raid/Gym meta. It also ranks pretty well in the Open Master League if you do end up getting lucky with the Hundo, although that is pretty slim chances. If you don't want to actually use the Elite TM to get Magma Storm, the second best option would be Flamethrower, which is still pretty good for it. Now let's actually talk about the Shadow Legendary Pokemon that's going to be available in raids. This is specifically going to be available over the weekend, and these are going to be in-person only raids. But we're going to have the Shadow Legendary Beasts finally out of rotation, so that means no more Shadow Entei, Raikou, or Suicune. We had those for 9 months, guys. 9 months, 3 consecutive rotations. That was just a bit too much if you ask me. Now, replacing these Pokemon is going to be the Shadow Regis, which are going to have their shiny forms available. The first one in rotation is going to be Shadow Regice. In terms of meta relevance here for Shadow Regice, it does currently rank within the top 100 for the Open Ultra League meta, but you will want to have the Legacy moveset Thunder, which is going to require an Elite TM. Also, you want to have Frustration removed on it if you do want to actually play it. So basically, if you don't care about the Shadow Shiny and you don't really care that much for PvP, this is a pretty easy skip over the next few weekends. Next up, let's take a look at our Research Breakthrough Pokemon. So we're going to have Alolan Raichu, Pancham, Furfrou, Hisuian Avaleg, Jangmo-o, and then finally Frigibax. Now, Frigibax is the only Pokemon on here that actually can't be shiny. Every other Pokemon does have the potential to be shiny. Now, on top of that, you do also have a chance to get a remote raid pass for free from these if you actually have no more than 2 in your Pokemon bag, although it is pretty rare. Next up, let's take a look at the legendary Pokemon that are going to be available in raids. Shiny forms will be available for every single legendary mentioned. Also, the rotation cycle is going to be from 10 AM to 10 AM local time, so keep that in mind as we're going through these dates. So until December 3rd, we're going to have Zacian, Zamazenta, Regieleki, and Regidrago all available in 5-star raid battles. If you are a main series shiny hunter, this is probably going to be a big priority for you since Zacian and Zamazenta are both shiny locked in Sword and Shield. Regidrago and Regieleki are also quite difficult to hunt in Pokemon Sword and Shield given that they are full odds hunts at 1,496, and the shiny rate for legendary Pokemon from raid battles in Pokemon GO is going to be 1 out of 20, so you probably have an easier chance just going through Pokemon GO, although guaranteed, RNG is still RNG. There's always that possibility that you go like 60 to 70 raids before you actually get your shiny. So, I mean, don't go too crazy, but definitely make sure to use your free passes if you do want to get any of these Pokemon in their shiny forms. Now, in terms of meta relevance, the only one that's actually going to be worth focusing on from this group of 4 is going to be Zacian from Master League. It is currently ranked within the top 40 right now in that format. Next up, from December 3rd until December 12th, we're going to have Genesect in its Chill Drive. This is also going to have the shiny version available. For some odd reason, like, when Genesect comes into rotation, it depends on which drive it has in terms of actually having that shiny eligible. Well, I guess this is technically the debut of the shiny Chill Drive Genesect. I'm not really sure why this is honestly that big of a deal, but yeah, this Pokemon isn't meta relevant for anything. Like, it's a decent bug type attacker, but that's basically about it. So, I mean, if you don't have shiny Genesect, this is going to be a Pokemon you might want to hunt down because you can actually only get this Pokemon from raids. You cannot trade this because Genesect is actually considered a mythical Pokemon, kind of similar to Darkrai. So basically, when it comes down to it for Genesect, if you want to get the shiny, that's going to be the only reason to go for this Pokemon. Otherwise, there isn't really any other application for it in raids or for PvP. From December 12th to December 26th, we're actually going to have Mega Latios and Mega Latias available, which is also going to count as the legendary Pokemon, but we'll talk more about these two in the Mega Raid section. So now from December 26th to January 4th, we're going to have Giratina Ultra available. Now this Pokemon is super good in both the Ultra League and Master League metas. Specifically for the Ultra League, you will want to have typical PvP IVs, which do require you to actually mirror trade this with somebody else. This is because the floor IVs from raids are going to be 10, 10, 10, so not really that optimal, right? Now with that being said though, for Master League you ideally want to go for the hundo, so it could work out in your favor, it just really depends. Now Giratina will not have access to its signature moveset Shadow Force during this rotation, but to be honest, you don't really need to run this in either of the metas, so you can just instead go with Shadow Claw plus Dragon Claw and Ancient Power as far as the moveset you want to run for this in PvP, both for the Ultra League and the Master League. And then finally, on top of all of that, this version of Giratina does also share the same candy as Giratina Origin form, which is going to be a really good ghost type attacker to have for the raid/gym meta. I think this was available in rotation a few months ago. Honestly, it's hard to remember with all the raids that we've had recently, but if you guys were able to get your hands on a decent IV spread, you may want to honestly just focus on this for the candy grind alone, and then you can actually go ahead and power that up. Moving on though, let's talk about the Mega Raids next, and Shiny Forms will be available for every single one of these Mega Pokemon. So just like Zacian, Zamazenta, Regieleki, and Regidrago, Mega Altaria is going to be available from the same time period until December 3rd. So basically when it comes down to Mega Altaria, this isn't like a great Pokemon to have for the raid/gym meta, but it does actually have some PvP relevance in the Open Great League, so you can just Mega Evolve your Great League spread and just be done with it. The main use of actually having this Pokemon is going to be for the candy bonuses, since it actually takes on a dual typing of Fairy and Dragon. Now following that, from December 3rd to December 12th, we're going to have Mega Bayonet, and we just had this Pokemon available in rotation during the last week of October, so it is a bit weird that we're actually seeing this again so soon. Now, this is going to be the second best Mega Ghost type attacker in the game behind Mega Gengar, so if you already have Mega Gengar, I wouldn't worry about this Pokemon too much. In terms of the best moveset though, if you decide to actually run Mega Bayonet, you want to go with Shadow Claw plus Shadow Ball. Now, I did mention earlier that we would go over Mega Latios and Mega Latias when we got to the Mega Raid section, so Mega Latios is going to be available from December 12th to December 19th, and then Mega Latias is going to be available from December 19th to December 26th. Now, in terms of meta relevance here, both of these do rank below Mega Rayquaza, Garchomp, and Salamence, which are going to be the top 3 Dragon-type Megas to have in game. The main reason to really just focus on them is if you want to get their shiny forms, and then also if you want to actually use them for candy bonuses because they take on a dual typing of Dragon and Psychic. Otherwise, you do have better options out there, so yeah, that's basically about it for these two. Now finally, from December 26th to January 4th, we're going to have Mega Obama Snow, which is going to be one of the top Ice-type Megas to have in the game for the raid/gym meta. It also has the dual typing of Grass and Ice, which makes it pretty good for candy bonuses as well, just like some of the other Pokemon that we mentioned. With the exception of Bayonet, I feel like this is a decent pool. I mean, definitely not super crazy, but not super bad either. I feel like a Mega Obama Snow is definitely going to be slept on, and a lot of players probably aren't going to get it, but I would strongly recommend it. Now, as always, to wrap up the Mega section, I want to provide some general information for any new or returning players watching. So first of all, you only need to evolve these Pokemon once before getting access to their cooldown period moving forward. You're also going to get more extra large candy when your Mega Pokemon gets to Mega level 3, which is unlocked after 30 days of Mega Evolution. And on top of that, when you actually beat these raids, you're going to get guaranteed charge TM, so a huge win-win situation. So basically, my recommendation for every single one of the Megas that you don't have is to do at least 1 to 2 raids to get the initial energy, and then after that you can just walk them as your buddy to earn more energy that way. Next up, let's talk about raid hours, which are going to be taking place every Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. local time. Typically, whichever legendary Pokemon is currently in rotation is going to be the one featured during that respective Wednesday, but sometimes it does vary. So on December 4th, we're going to have Genesect, on December 11th, we're going to have Genesect, on December 18th, we're going to have Mega Latios, and then finally on December 25th, we're going to have Mega Latias. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with raid hours, most gyms will have the featured Pokemon appearing, and the raids are also going to reset after about 25 minutes, which means you can actually hit the same gyms again at the half-hour mark, which is pretty convenient if you only have like a few gyms around you. I would also recommend checking out Campfire if you guys are interested in any of these raid days for any local meetups. Next up, let's go over max battles, and shiny forms are going to be available for each Pokemon that's going to be featured. Now, in terms of the rotation cycle for the max battles this month, it's a lot more split up, whereas like last month it was just all combined for the entire month. I think Niantic is honestly just messing around with this stuff, so we're probably going to see more changes like this in the future. Anyways, we'll kind of take this slow and I'll go over which Pokemon are worth focusing on, which ones you guys can kind of ignore. So anyways, let's go into the rotation cycle right now, starting off from December 3rd to December 9th. So in terms of the relevant Pokemon here, we're going to have Dynamax Machop and then also Dynamax Beldum. So first of all, let's go over Dynamax Machop. Now normally I would not recommend this Pokemon, but we do actually have Gigantamax Lapras coming into rotation for a special event soon. And Machamp is going to be the best fighting type Dynamax Pokemon that we do have available, so this is going to be an optimal Pokemon that you do want to actually get your hands on. Now you can also trade these Machop in order to take advantage of the special trade evolution discount, which means you would only need 25 candy to evolve it all the way up from Machop into Machamp, and you also have a chance of getting a lucky Machop from trades this way, which guarantees the IV spread to be at least 12, 12, 12. So basically that's what I'm going to do with my extra Machop. If I don't end up getting good IV spreads, I'm just going to trade them and then hope for the best. Now all that being said guys, I would not recommend leveling these things up past level 30 as well, because you will ideally want to wait until we get Gigantamax Machamp in the future, which, I mean, I don't know when that's going to come out, but I do know that power creeps are inevitable, so be more conservative with your power-ups. I know some players have been putting like a lot of resources into Dynamax Pokemon. I think level 30 is probably the most I would go with these. That seems to be like the most effective approach, and then from there you can focus on powering up their max moves with the extra MP that you get, which I think is a good way to go about it. Next up, let's talk about Dynamax Beldum, which I also mentioned as well. So when evolved to Metagross, this Pokemon is one of the best tanks in the entire game for max battles. It should be a top priority to hunt, guys. December Calm Day is also coming up in a few weeks as well, so you can actually hold onto these Beldum to evolve them into Metagross to get the exclusive moveset Meteor Mash. This is going to be super important if you want to run Metagross as a Steel-type attacker, but you can also use Metagross as a Psychic-type attacker for max battles as well, so I would say having like 2 Psychic variants and 2 Steel-type variants would be ideal. Now obviously you don't have to build them all at once, I'm just saying like if you get a bunch of extras you can definitely keep like Lucky trading them, trying to get a better IV spread, and then that should be your end goal. Now we do also have Dynamax Wooloo and Dynamax Phalanx, but because we have Dynamax Machop now, there's no reason to really focus on Phalanx, and then Dynamax Wooloo is more like a starter Pokemon. We have Dynamax Beldum, so honestly those are the 2 top priority Pokemon for that week. And then afterwards, we're going to have more Pokemon, which we'll talk about right now. So from December 9th to December 23rd, this is going to be like the next 2 weeks, we're going to have the Dynamax Gen 1 starters, Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. We're going to have Dynamax Krabby and then Dynamax Skwovet. So first of all, for the Dynamax Gen 1 starters, since these Pokemon have already had their G-Max forms released in-game, there isn't like a huge incentive to actually focus on them. That being said though, if you don't have at least 400 plus candy on each of these Pokemon, you should still be doing these to build up your resources for candy. I cannot begin to tell you how many comments I got from people just telling me that they couldn't evolve their Charmander into Charizard. Following that, we do have Dynamax Krabby. This is going to be a new Dynamax Pokemon being released during this month, but I can't really find a good reason to focus on this. Given that we can't change our Dynamax Pokemon to Gigantamax Pokemon, like there's literally zero reason to do this. I mean, just wait for the G-Max, that's all I'm gonna say. Now finally, we do have Dynamax Skwovet, which thanks to its normal typing and diverse move pool, it's actually a really good budget option to have for max battles. Like especially if you're kind of new to this whole Dynamax system, I would recommend grabbing a few of these. Now finally, our last rotation for max battles is going to be from December 23rd to January 6th. So we're going to have the Dynamax Gen 8 starters, Grookey, Scorbunny, and Sobble, along with Dynamax Cryogonal, along with Krabby. Now, as far as Dynamax Cryogonal goes, this is like another new Pokemon being released, but again, like there's no reason to really focus on this. I cannot think of a single reason to raid this. So ignore that one completely unless you just want to have at least one of these. Otherwise, your main focus should be going towards the Gen 8 starters, which were released a few months ago just in general, and they're most likely going to be getting Calm Days during 2025 with their special moves, Frenzy Plant, Hydro Cannon, and Blast Burn respectively. Now these Pokemon are also going to have their G-Max forms in the future, so just like I recommended for the Gen 1 starters, if you don't have at least 400 plus candy on each of these Pokemon, you should still be doing these to build up your resources. Once you get past that point, you can ignore them and then just kind of wait for their G-Max forms to come into rotation. Now finally, to conclude the max battles, we also have max hours taking place every Monday from 6 to 7 p.m. local time. These do work a little differently than the raid hours that take place on Wednesday, so it kind of feels like Niantic is just really trying to give us as much content as possible. Now, when it comes down to these max hours, the main incentive that I've personally found is that if you're struggling to track down like a certain Pokemon, it does make it a little bit easier to focus on the hunt. That said though, none of the Pokemon featured are actually that important to focus on. It would have been really good if Beldum was one of the featured Pokemon during one of these max hours, but unfortunately it's not. On December 3rd we have Squirtle, December 9th we have Krabby, 16th we have Charmander, 23rd we have Cryogonal, and then finally on the 30th we have Bulbasaur. Basically for all the Pokemon featured in max hours, like none of them are really worth grinding. Like I'll do it if it's convenient. I think last month we also got a guaranteed, or not a guaranteed, increased chance to get more extra large rare candy, which is kind of a good incentive. But as far as this month goes, there was no mention of that. So yeah, for these max hours, honestly, I would just skip them this month. There isn't a big incentive to really focus on them. So raids and max battles out of the way, let's talk about the upcoming events for this month. Now, before we dive into it, I also want to mention that these event windows are going to be based on your local time zone, so just make sure to keep that in mind. So from December 3rd to December 7th, we're going to have the Just My Cup of Tea event. This event is going to debut Sinistea and Poltegeist. The bonuses are going to include 2x friendship bonus damage in raids and 50% more Stardust from the raid rewards. That's about it. So, I mean, it's not that crazy of an event. And then the next event, honestly, isn't that crazy either, which is going to be on December 7th. It's going to be the Aspiring Dragons Research Day. We're going to have Horsey, Trapinch, Swablu, Skrelp with all boosted shiny odds from field research tasks. I'm always a big fan of the research days. They're always really fun to play through, and especially if you don't have these shinies already, it's going to be super good to focus on hunting them. Not to mention, for the crazy people out there who try to Shundo hunt everything, you have a significantly higher chance of actually getting a Shundo during these events thanks to the IV floor being 10-10-10 from research tasks. Now we actually have another event right after this one ends, and that's going to be on December 8th. That's going to be Gigantamax Lapras Max Battle Day. We talked about this very briefly earlier. So again, focus on those Dynamax Machop, build up your Dynamax Machamp because you're going to need to have them for this. So now during this event, we actually have a lot of really good bonuses, and this is kind of where the whole Dynamax system is actually starting to make improvements, which I'm really happy to see. So basically, to start things off, during this event, the MP collection limit is going to be increased from 800 to 1600. Now, this was really confusing because during Go Wild Area, they said the same thing was going to happen, but the cap was still 1000 that you could actually hold on to. So yeah, you can actually collect up to 1600 during the day, but you can't hold on to 1600 at one time. I just wanted to clarify that. But with that being said, the rest of these bonuses also make sense in regards to that. So we're gonna get 8 times MP from power spots. Basically, you would get 120 if you actually clicked on the power spot, got the particles. During this event, you're going to get 960. But wait, there's even more. So you're also going to get 2 times MP from exploring, which I'm pretty sure is just another way of saying walking. So this would likely go from 300 to 600. And the walking requirement is also going to be reduced from 2 kilometers to 1 kilometer. So overall, I mean, these are really good changes. Like, one major issue in the past was that after you beat like one Gmax Pokemon, it was really difficult to get your MP back just due to the limited power spots around you. I know I definitely had that issue. Like, even though I was gifted the event ticket and I had like, I think 3200 MP to claim during the Go Wild Area event days, like, after we did one Gmax raid, like, I could not do another Gmax raid right after. I had to just go and collect the MP from either walking or from more power spots. And if I already claimed the MP from the power spots around me, well, I couldn't claim them again. Like, they didn't reset every hour, so it was really difficult. So overall, like, these changes are massive and definitely a step in the right direction. Very happy to see them. All right, now following that, from December 12th to December 14th, we're going to have the Young and Wise event. I have no idea what this event is going to be like. Predictions down below for sure. On December 14th, we're going to have Necrozma Fusion Raid Day, though. Now, we did already get the details for this, so it's basically just a regular raid day like normal. But for those of you who are unfamiliar, Necrozma Fusions are the most powerful Pokemon to have in the entire game. Dawnwings is like the best ghost type attacker, and then Duskmane is going to be the best steel type attacker. So on top of these two being like the best Pokemon to have in their respective categories, you're also going to get boosted shiny odds going from 1 out of 20 to 1 out of 10. And I can tell you for sure, like, the boosted shiny odds on raid days are usually really, really good. I think there's only been like one raid day where I just had terrible luck. Otherwise, I've usually gotten a shiny. This is definitely going to be one of the best events that we have during this month, guys. You do not want to miss it. Mark it in your calendars. Start saving up your Pokecoins right now for raid passes. I mean, you really want to be prepared for this. It is going to be amazing. Now, following that, from December 17th to December 22nd, we're going to have the Holiday Part 1 event. And then during that weekend, we're going to have December Calm Day on December 21st and December 22nd. I'm going to have 2 detailed videos coming out in early December to get you guys prepared for this massive event, so don't worry, I got you covered. We cover this every single year. It is a lot to go through, but honestly, you do not want to miss it. So Necrozma Raid Day, December Calm Day, both 2 really important events. Make sure to mark those in your calendar. I'm just telling you guys that right now. Moving on though, from December 22nd to December 27th, we're going to have the Holiday Part 2 event. On December 29th, we're going to have the Charged Embers Hatch Day. I'm gonna predict this is gonna be Magmy. Like, I'm almost 100% positive here. I can't think of any other Pokemon that would actually fit this Hatch Day. Now, specifically during Hatch Day events, these are gonna be the only times where I actually recommend hatching eggs. Otherwise, incubator events are just complete scams, but this is the exception. Hatch days are typically pretty good because the hatch rates are like 1 out of 10 to get the shiny, which, I mean, let's be honest here, that is the only time that they ever disclose the shiny rates for hatching Pokemon. And then finally, the last event is going to be on December 30th to January 1st, which is going to be the New Year's event. So basically just expect more special costume Pokemon to celebrate the new year. So during the start of December, honestly, the events are kind of mid, but as we get further into it, I feel like the events definitely start to pick up. So I'm probably going to take some time off from Pokemon Go during the beginning of this month because, I mean, there really isn't a whole lot going on, and honestly, I am a little bit burnt out. My foot has been on the gas for months with all the content that we've had in game, so I think taking a step back to reflect and refocus could actually do me some good. As always though, thank you all so much for watching the videos, I truly do appreciate you. Moving on though, we still have the spotlight hours to go through, which are going to be taking place every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. local time. Shiny forms will be available for each of the Pokemon featured, and we're actually going to have a complete banger of a spotlight hour on December 3rd to start things off. So the featured Pokemon is going to be Sableye, and for those who don't know, Sableye is actually one of the special Pokemon that awards more Stardust when caught. It's going to give you 750 Stardust, and combined with a special bonus of 2 times catch Stardust, this is going to be 1500 Stardust per catch. If we add a start piece on top of that for a 1.5 times multiplier, this is going to be 2250 Stardust per catch. A few months ago we had the Spotlight Hour for Shroomish, which I was able to get over 400,000 Stardust, only playing for about 45 minutes with only 1 start piece used. So you can definitely clear over 500,000. I know for a fact the top players in this game are able to get over 1 million Stardust during these spotlight hours, but they're also pros at fast catching and likely have a good spawn density in their local area. So basically for the average player, you should be able to do at least 300,000 Stardust during this event. That's only going to be 133 catches with the start piece active, which isn't that difficult to do. So I would definitely start prepping your bag now with lots of Pokeballs in order to get yourself ready for this event. Also, I would strongly recommend stockpiling some raspberries as well to improve your catch rate, otherwise you're totally going to exhaust your ball supply really quickly because Sableye is going to be a Pokemon that's kind of difficult to catch. Now in terms of meta relevance as well, I also want to mention that both Purified Sableye and Shadow Sableye have relevance in the Open Great League as extra large Pokemon builds, so this is going to be a great time to actually stock up on that resource. All around though, this event is going to be something that you do not want to miss for Stardust and then also for extra large candy. Now after that super amazing Spotlight Hour, we're going to have one that's not really that important afterwards. It's going to be Murkrow with a special bonus of 2 times catch experience on December 12th. So when evolved to Honchkrow, this Pokemon is decent to use in raids as like a flying or a dark type attacker, but that's basically it. Murkrow also has a worse catch rate than Sableye, and it's really difficult to land excellent throws on, so focusing on the special bonus of 2 times catch experience isn't really going to be ideal. Unless you're specifically after the shiny, I would just skip this Spotlight Hour. Next up on December 17th, we're going to have Slugma and Bergmite as a combined Spotlight Hour with the special bonus being 2 times catch candy. So all things considered, this is also another Spotlight Hour you probably want to skip. Both evolved versions of these Pokemon are not relevant in PvP or raids. Slugma, when evolved into Magcargo, does have some play in the limited metas for a Great League, but that's basically about it. So once again, unless you're after the shiny forms or maybe that niche PvP heavy spread, I would just skip these. Now on December 24th, we're going to have Delibird with a special bonus being 2 times transfer candy. So this is going to be another boosted Stardust Spotlight Hour because Delibird is going to give you 500 Stardust per catch. So with the start piece, it's going to be 750 Stardust. This will also be the costumed form of Delibird for the shiny hunters out there who still don't have it. Now we also have the special bonus of 2 times transfer candy, and given that this is going to be on Christmas Eve, I'm sure many players probably aren't going to be out playing Pokemon Go during that day. So at the very least, you can take advantage of this bonus by creating a search tag, grouping together all of your rare Pokemon and extra legendaries, and then bonus points if you mirror trade them with somebody else beforehand as well. And then just go to that search tag, transfer them all once the event starts, and now you're basically done. Only takes about 5 minutes. Now our final Spotlight Hour for the year is going to be Togetic on December 31st, and this is going to have the special bonus of 2 times Evolve experience. So when evolved to Togekiss with a Sinnoh Stone and 100 candy, this Pokemon is going to become meta relevant in raids as a fairy type attacker. It also has some pretty good play in the Open Master League, ranking in the top 100. Togetic also has a low catch rate, so once again I would recommend stockpiling some raspberries ahead of time. Now as far as the special bonus goes, if you don't really want to go out there and catch Togekiss, I would group together about 70 evolutions in a search tag, or 70 Pokemon that you want to evolve in a search tag per lucky egg, and this way you can really take advantage of that bonus. You can also combine some friendship experience bonuses as well on top of that. But once again, this is going to fall on New Year's Eve, so I'm assuming most of you guys are going to have plans to celebrate the new year. Togetic is probably not going to be a priority for you, which is completely understandable. But yeah, with that being said, guys, that's basically everything I have for you in this video. Niantic added a ton of content for December. I think there's so much to look forward to, whether you're a newer returning player or even a veteran player. Specifically looking at you, Necrozma, man, that's going to be an awesome raid day. As always though, guys, if there's anything you're looking forward to specifically, let me know in the comment section down below, and if you want to check out some content in the meantime, you guys can watch these 2 videos right here. But before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon in the next one, probably in about 2 weeks.